You're listening to Staying in the Game, a Plum Dragon Herbs podcast where we have conversations about mindset and techniques for staying at the top of your game.
And we're really happy to have all you guys here. Janelle, would you like to, go ahead with some of the introductions, then we can get ahead and get into it?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so last time in our last podcast, we were speaking to Leo Rodriguez, who's a big fan of Bruce Lee, and he's a great martial artist in his own right. And he gave some of the history of how he was introduced to Dit Da Jow, which, for any listeners who don't know, Dit Da Jow is a topical herbal liniment that is used for pain management and injuries, very commonly in martial arts. And Leo was introduced to Dit Da Jow by one of our guests today. We've got Sifu Felix Macias, and we're excited to have you here with us. He's from, he and Master Alex are from the original Oakland JKD. And let's see, Sifu Felix, you are a second generation instructor of Jeet Kune Do in its original form. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
And your father, Felix Macias Sr., he trained under the great Kung Fu Sifu James Jim Lee, the man that introduced Bruce Lee to iron palm training.
Yes,
and they were also all part of the Jeet Kune Do Club in Oakland. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we also have Master Alex with us. He's a freestyle artist and an 8 times Master Martial Art Hall of Famer. And they're both, like I said, currently instructors at the Oakland JKD.
Yeah, Alex is also a gold medalist in Tae Kwon Do in '96.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Pan American Games.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. And then we've also got with us Josh Walker. He was the original founder of Plum Dragon Herbs. And he heads up one of the chapters of the Balintawak martial arts style.
Bobby Tabawada.
Tapamina. Yeah.
Tapamina? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
the guy that I know is the Tabawada. He's from the Philippines, older gentleman.
Yeah. I suppose they're all named Bobby, right?
Yeah.
Bobby Tabawada is I think right now he's in North Carolina. And Bobby Tapamina is actually he lives out in Mindanao in Iligan City. So when I train, I go out with him, or they come out here once a year.
Yeah, we got a buddy out there in North Carolina.
Okay.
Tony Mazzola is one of our good friends. He came down to one of our seminars. Really good guy. He's studied under Ted Wong.
Okay.
To the Bruce Lee lineage over there in L.A. And he's another good guy. And then I take it, my other buddy, Rodney Morgan, huh?
Oh, yeah, I know Rod. Yeah, I haven't talked to Rod in some time. But, yeah, of course, in iron palm circles these days, Rod's, is kind of like the name.
Yeah, him and Wolfgang, a couple of pretty good iron palmists.
They
sent me over a nice book with Jow recipes, a lot of them.
That's right. They have a book. They have a couple.
Yeah, we go back and forth, me and Rodney, about different Jows and iron palm and Qigong, the whole thing. This whole thing about this iron palm thing, the lineage part, going through Jimmy Lee. My father started there with Jimmy probably a couple years before Bruce even showed up. It was Jimmy Lee had a school in Hayward, matter of fact. A lot of people don't know about that. But then a couple years later, they hearing the word, hearing the name Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee came on board, and my dad met him. And that was it. He was there with Jimmy and Bruce about a good 10 years, with Jimmy Lee longer. And Jimmy Lee's iron palm lineage is through the Ko Chung legacy. Yeah. And Rodney was the one who turned me on to the Ko Chung Jow.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out who had Jimmy Lee's Jow. Rodney said he knew a guy that 99.9% sure that it was Ko Chung. I looked it up. Sure enough, that was the whole lineage, So anyway, great to meet you guys and everything. And what do you guys want to know or talk about?
Yeah, actually, I'm curious. Unless you have like a specific.
Oh, I was just gonna say I wanted to finish the intros really quick and thank Josh for coming because he's an engineer working 80 hours a week right now.
So a little crazy right now.
We really appreciate that. And then Nick and I are with Plum Dragon Herbs. This is Nick Patterson that waves to you, and I'm Janelle Leatherwood. I won't wave because I'm paint, but you can see my fun hands covered in paint.
All right. Well, yeah, it's kind of cool because Nick kind of reminds you of one of my students, a guy named Nikolai over here. It kind of reminds me of him.
Well, there you go. I'm sure he's a great guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a great guy. Oh, yeah, he can fight good, too.
Good.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
I'm happy to turn the time. Oh, I was just going to say, I'm happy to turn the time over to Josh if he has that first question.
Yeah, I'm curious. And, we talked a little bit previously about, or mentioned previously about the, this whole idea. And actually, I love the kind of the philosophical concept behind the difference between original JKD and like JKD concepts type of thing. And I think it's really neat. And I actually trained a little bit on the Richard Bastillo side a lot of years ago. And so, of course, at that time, I was big into Iron Palm, but there was like no Iron Palm in the curriculum. And so it's interesting to hear about the Oakland schools, kind of having a bit more of an emphasis on Iron Palm. So like, is that something that you guys have, continued to maintain as part of the curriculum, or was it more of a, just something that group was into? Like, why is it kind of fallen out in certain groups and that you guys have been able to hang on to that?
Well, the reason for that is a whole lot of mix-up, a whole lot of theatrics, a whole lot of who's who in JKD, and mainly everybody, in my opinion, is concerned more with certificates and stripes on a damn belt, And for us, the legacy is deep. It's internal. Bruce Lee, Jimmy Lee were a couple of Chinese guys. So in China, they did a lot of things. My father learned Fu Jiao from Fu Jiao Pai, Black Tiger from Jimmy, Hung Gar, still some of the Mantis and everything. And Bruce had been doing the Wing Chun and some of the Tai Chi, and he dabbled into, like I said before, the Prime Mantis, Northern and Southern, with a guy by the name of Jun Fu Mark. It was a good buddy of his. And
what happened was, and he's in Minnesota. Jin Fu. Yeah. I trained Southern Mantis for a number of years, so that's
Bruce spent about a year with him. They were good buddies, they say. And but the curriculum of this whole thing that goes all the way back to herbs, Plum Dragon, everything that you guys have, that should be a whole art together. It's either got to, instead of being in bits and pieces. And concepts, by the way, means an idea. And I don't teach an idea. This might work. I don't like to say the word concept. Like a concept card. A damn thing might run, it might not, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So the whole thing that we've done is we maintained the structure and the internalness along with the herb, the Qigong. I know how to make some herbs. I'm still learning different things. I got friends, like I say, Rodney Wolfgang, that are pretty good into good recipes. The whole thing should be an internal art. The deeper you get, the older you get, you should be dabbling into that. The Iron Palm wasn't taught by everybody. My father was one of the lucky ones. He got taught the Iron Palm by Jimmy Lee. And Bruce got taught because he kept going back and forth to China making movies. And so a lot of guys don't like him over there. So I was sitting there with my father. I was a little kid. And there's a lot of things I can tell you about all this. But Jimmy told my father that he was teaching Bruce Lee the Iron Palm because of the chips, so he could have a little extra something because of a lot of people that didn't like him, So pretty, a little bit of a self-assurance, we'll say.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So then, is it part of when you guys are training? Is that something that you guys are still passing on to your guys? Like, is that is it a standard part of the curriculum, or do you separate it, or how does that all work out for you guys?
Well, it's like this: if they become good enough and they can handle it, I'll teach it to them. I'm not going to give somebody a loaded gun and let them walk down the street with it. They don't know how to handle it. It's got to be earned and it's got to be dealt with, right? It's like if I know they're going to be little assholes and try to hurt somebody, I'm not going to.
Right.
Right? You know, they're going to fight. Okay. But this is something that you got to take seriously, you know, with the iron palm. I don't know any JKD people that do this, to be honest with you. I do it. I've taught it. I got Jim Lee's books, both A and B, the iron palm, break in 100 days. I got them both. They're my father's, and now they belong to me. I got a lot of things from Bruce that belong to my father that I have put away. Mainly a lot of the arts, a lot of the Kung Fu arts, and how you condition, you harden the hand, the forearm, you know, that all goes with the Kung Fu. And then so what we do is we make a couple things, and I call up Janelle, but I need some more herbs now. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll hook you up.
Oh, man, right on. That sounds great. That sounds great. You know? So I haven't heard much from Nick. He's awful quiet.
Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of take control of all of our user submitted questions. So one of those from @MagicSkyPlay on Instagram is, how did you both get started? What brought you to where you are now?
Well, for me, I grew up with this.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with boxing. I grew up a lot of martial art Kung Fu. When I was about 4 years old, my dad started doing judo and everything. Then he met Jimmy Lee. Probably when I was about 6 or 7. So I'm 62 now. So it's been in my blood, been in my family for years. You know, my father was Bruce and Jimmy, the first 2 teachers. Jimmy Lee was not a third teacher there. That was Jimmy Lee's home. So what happened was, the way that they had met, they kept hearing the word, you know, Bruce Lee, you know. My father kept telling my mother. About a year or two later, they bring him on board, and they met. Jimmy Lee had a lot of ideas. He was doing the job brick breaking with a guy named Novak. Novak was a big break breaker back in the days. I knew him personally. Him and my father were great friends. He came to a lot of our seminars, spoke at a lot of our seminars, along with a guy named Sid Campbell. He was in that circuit. And so Bruce and Jimmy got together, and they touched the hand and everything, and they were like, holy crap. One thing led to another, and we called it a Big Bang Theory, and that's what happened. You know, they met up, and boom. And that was the creation here in Oakland, the birthplace of Jeet Kune Do.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
What about you, Alex? How'd you get involved?
I started by watching Bruce Lee movies back in the 70s, and then I wanted to be like him, doing all the kicks and everything. So my brothers and my cousins, we used to come out of the theater in San Jose, the Jose theaters, and I used to try to kick the butt. They ended up beating my butt up. So you know, I was like, oh, my dad, I wanted to take martial arts, so he put me in. My first class was Wing Chun Kung Fu. I started in 1979. It was me, my brother, and my mom. So it was just more like hands. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to kick. So I told my dad, put me in Tae Kwon Do. So he ended up doing that. Then I ended up getting my third dan, and then I succeeded from there. And then I took in 1990 I took silver medal for the Junior Olympics, and then in 1996 I took gold medal for the Pan American Games in Los Angeles and Disneyland. And then from there I started doing the other Taekwondo tournaments and teaching police officers in my high school at Independence High School in San Jose, and it was fun. I loved it and stuff. Then I hooked up with a Sifu Felix. Man, it just changed my whole life around. Because after I got my third dan, I couldn't get a higher rank unless I was older, like around 20. And I was like, well, I'm wasting 4 years of doing the same thing I'm doing over all my life, so might as well mix it up a little bit. So I started taking Muay Thai, Kali, Filipino stick fighting, judo, Fuxuan, all the Korean martial arts. And then when I went with him, the Sifu with Oakland, everything it's an eye opener. It's like when you're doing the basic stuff, by the time I got to throw a punch, you already have 3 punches in your face and the kick. So I mixed it up with the Taekwondo and I mixed it up with the JKD. So, put those together, surprise. And people will get a surprise over it. They're looking at the hands, but they don't see the feet because my feet, it's like boom, come out of nowhere. And then when they throw punches, we throw gust punches, boom, boom, hit them. And they don't realize what the hell, where it came from. So, but it's fun. And then I've been in now I just got nominated again for the Hall of Fame. So now this is my 10th times Martial Arts Hall of Fame.
Nice.
So,
Congratulations.
Wow, that's
man.
incredible.
That's no small accomplishment. That is so great.
Yeah, it's a big accomplishment, all right.
Yeah.
You got
Oh,
that
yeah.
right. Yeah.
So what is the main thing that really keeps both of you so deeply connected to martial arts all these years later? What keeps that passion there?
Well, a lot of friendship and just a lot of ideas. Sometimes you feel like a damn antenna. You kind of walk away from it for a minute, and it just doesn't let you, you know. And these ideas keep pulling you. And I've been dabbling in. I get into the pressure point. I look at the demo, you know. But a while back, I was really into breaking. I used to break a lot. You know, get the slab 6, 7, 8 high, boom, break those, bust the coconut easy, no problem. But then I accomplished all that, and I became more of a teacher and a coach now, basically. You know, teaching people self-defense. You know, pretty much. And with Alex, I guess, with the passion grew, and he looking for something to fill the gap, you know. So I was here to help him, and he's doing great. He's on his own, you know.
That's great. And it's interesting, you know, the way that your relationship to stuff evolves the older you get. So what was that transition like for both of you, going from the student to the master, so to speak?
Well, I kind of got put into it, and the farthest thing I'd ever call myself would be, the guys call me a Sifu or friend or my name, you know. But master, I don't really use the word master or anything, because I feel like it's a lifetime accomplishment, you know. And for me, you know, some people like the word master. Alex uses the master because he's mastered everything he needs in Tae Kwon Do. But for me, I have yet to. I'm still growing, and I'm still learning things. I'm learning more about the internalness. I'm learning more about herbs. I'm learning more about what, you know, the other side of the door, so to speak. You know, and it was the same thing Jimmy and Bruce are doing. Jimmy was already there. He was already been going behind to the other side, where he was doing the internal stuff, the pressure point, the breaking, knowing how to take somebody out a lot quicker if you needed it. You know, it's good to have it if you need it, but it's also good to know it, you know, through the herbs and everything. If you help somebody or heal somebody at the same time, you know, it's a double-sided sword.
Definitely.
I've got a lot of questions on Facebook about the specific herbs and formulas that you guys use. So maybe I could just interject a few of these in here. But here's one from Hank Jonkman. Does the strength of Dit Da Jow solely depend on the herbs used, or also the percentage of alcohol one uses? Now, that's one that Josh could probably answer for us.
Yeah, so obviously the herbs are really important. The formula itself is really important, and the amount of herb that's in there is also really important. And like there's a bunch of formulas that people use that have really good herbs that don't have very much in it. And so like a lot of the formulas at Plum Dragon that were modified were made to, like, I have this idea. I used to have this like private forum, and I passed all these formulas out. And we had this idea of the 1 pounder. And the idea that I like to go for is that I like to try to push the quantity of herbs up in formulas where they're not enough. And so like 1 pound per gallon tends to be like, if it's less than that, like I like to try to like push the amounts up, just scale them proportionally. As far as the alcohol itself isn't what makes the liniment strong. Now, some liniments have more alcohol in them. A lot of the injury liniments will have more alcohol for a variety of different reasons. The iron palm liniments have usually a little bit less alcohol so that they don't evaporate quickly. But like it's a soak time thing, right? So like it soaks for a longer period of time and it becomes stronger. And then of course the quality of the alcohol is important as well. Like you don't want to just pour in stuff that, you don't want it vinegarized. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, excuse me. Yeah, I also believe though the strength of the jow probably kind of like cuts upon what you need it for. Some people just use it for beginning, bruising, hurting. And some people use it in the middle for a little bit more intense. And the deeper you get into the iron palm, you're going to want the one that's really going to penetrate. The good Jow, they call it. So there's, for me, it's always been like three things to Jow. Beginning, intermediate, and advanced. Depending on what you're going to be using. And it's like everything else, I guess. So it's like it's like learning. You begin, then you get better, then you become really good. So I guess the deeper you go into it, the more you study the potency of the herb, I think.
Yeah, that's a really good point. What's the saying? Like if you have a hammer, then everything looks like a nail, right? So like you've got your training lineaments and injury lineaments, and some of them are hot and cooling and work more on the surface, and some work more deeper in. And it's a really good point. If you can have the strongest Jow in the world, and if you're using it for the wrong thing, then it's not very effective.
Not gonna work. Yeah, you also gotta, you have to incorporate your Qigong. You do the right Qigong, your hand will get hot. You put the Jow before, and then you do the Qigong, and your body's gonna get hot. During the time that you're training iron palm. So you kind of prep the body inside as well. Just like you said, it's just instead of pouring the Jow on and hoping for the best. It ain't gonna work, right?
Right.
So you need to turn it on. And for me, iron palm's always been like, I call it hand conditioning in the beginning, so you can condition the knuckle, the hand, so you can hit deeper. But I also know that for the Qigongs and the Jow and the iron palm together, I guess when you get mad, you would sort of say, how when you get mad, you get hot.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like you don't need the iron palm if you got the hand conditioned already. But when the time comes, instinctively, you do generate the iron palm more. You ever see the movie Five Fingers of Death? The old cult flick, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the guy got mad. When he used it, he made the hand red. So it's kind of like that. You can turn it on and make it more intense, depending on your on what's happening right now. On how far things need to go. If it ain't that bad, then you take it as far as it needs to go. If it's serious, then you will pull your internal instincts out, and you will make it more deadly than what it should be. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how we do.
That's the hard part, is the control.
Hey, Josh, we just got a Facebook question from Olga Braun. It says, "Hi, Josh. Can I use 75% alcohol for beginning and dissolve it with water later to 40% alcohol?"
So I wouldn't dissolve it. I wouldn't change it at all. Like if you make it at 75 or dilute it, right? If you make it at 75, then just keep it at 75. If you want to start it at 50, there's nothing, you're not going to get a lower quality liniment by using 50% alcohol as opposed to 75. So, but once it's aged, don't add anything to it. It's done. It gets, a bun is out of the oven.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. It's but before people even get to play with the Jows and everything else, I suggest that they learn more about it. Why it's used, when to use it, why do you have to use it? And if you don't
here's
need
a
it,
question that I've had, and I'm looking through the questions. There's a similar one here that says, "Are there different D Da Jows for different levels of training?" So my inclination is, why not go for the most advanced Jow right in the beginning? What is the downfall or the downside of using the strongest Jow from the get-go?
So I want to rephrase that question for Alex and Felix also. So some Plum Dragon customers have had, and it's very rare, but some really strong Jows are not easy on the skin, right? So some people might get rashes. The more you train and the more your hands get used to it, the more you can take. But then the other thing is that a lot of the real advanced Jows, they don't do anything for bruising, right? They're wind damp stuff. They're for the joints. And if you're trying to hit a bag and you've never hit it before, then it's not handling the bruising, right?
no, it's got to be. Well, excuse me. Go ahead, please.
I was curious what you guys, and it sounds like you guys have a really good history of use in the school, and I was curious, how you guys work with your students, you know, from beginning to end on how they like, do you like with in terms of education and use and the formulas and all that type of thing?
Yeah, mainly we'll use the basic job for the bruising for the beginners. It's like this. You ask yourself, do you give a student an advanced technique on the first day visiting you? Right? See? You don't. What you do is when they can handle it, it's just like a progression. The more intense, then you get the more intense Jows that are needed at the time. Mm-hmm. It's like the immune system and the skin and everything has to be conditioned enough to handle the more advanced. Like you said, the guy hits the bag, scrapes his knuckles, he can put the Jow on, the good stuff. It ain't gonna do him any good. He has to slowly but surely condition into it, the transition, you know, for the Jows. And it's like the Kung Fu too. The same thing, you know. Everybody for me, you know, I get a lot of guys that come through. I get a lot of guys that are well advanced in different martial arts. And I still school them, at some of them at a beginning stage, but they'll progress faster because of you know, what they've done. And what I do is I just enhance the system of what they have. I don't take it away. You know, you go to a place and first thing the guy will tell you is, well, you got 20 years of this and that, and they'll tell you, okay, no more. Start clean. We don't know anything. You know, and I kind of disagree on that. Whatever you learned in the past, you know, whatever art, boxing, wrestling, kung fu, whatever, I suggest you keep it and enhance it. It's like with the Jows. You know, you work your guy towards the advanced product and the advancement of what he's learning. Pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a question for everybody, but specifically Alex. And it is, what do you recommend for focus and motivation when somebody is just getting started in training? You know, they're a week in, 6 months in. What would your advice be to them?
Or like if they wanted to train with me and they wanted to
yeah, just if they're getting into a discipline and they're starting to get a little frustrated, what advice in terms of staying focused and disciplined and all that would you have for them?
I just tell them like, hey, you know, train every day, be dedicated to it, because if you're not dedicated to it, then you ain't going nowhere. You know, I can't tell you that you're doing good when you're not doing good at all and lie to you, and then you go out and feed and get your butt kicked and you come back and tell me, hey, I thought you said I was good. But, you know, all you gotta do is like, I have people like, hey, because they train with me one class, hey, what do you think of me? What is it doing? So you're not gonna be good as you want to be, but just keep focusing. You gotta put a lot of heart to it and you gotta dedicate yourself to it. Because if you don't dedicate yourself to it, you ain't gonna go nowhere. You know, you gotta think confidence, you gotta build confidence, and you gotta just tell yourself, hey, I can do this, or like for example, when I used to get in the fights, I can beat this guy, you know, this and that. That's the confidence I had. I go fight the guy, boom, boom, one kick, and he was down on the ground. That's it. It was game over. You know, you just gotta tell yourself you can do it, and then put dedication to it, and then, you know, motivate yourself, and then, you know, and just keep practicing a lot and try hard, and trying to find an easier way to do things that are not complicated, to do it, to make it easier for you, so you can go ahead and do what you got to do to become the better one of anybody else.
Patience.
Yeah.
Patience is the number one when you teach it. Mm-hmm. You can't expect the guy to be Bruce Lee in one day. Okay. Patience takes time. Like Alex said, the guy that's willing to learn, you gotta give you his all. He's got to want to learn. Too many schools give out too many certificates, too many stripes on the belt, too many trophies. They go out there getting mugged. You know, I mean, if you're training for 5, 10, 15 years, you go out and get beat up easy, something's not right. You know, you're paying all that money. You should learn how to fight or protect yourself at least. You go to a boxing gym, get these young kids that are amateur fighters. A lot of those kids are really good. You know, they'll do a lot of damage. But like Alex said, it's just determination, you know, on everything. And bottom word, patience. That's all it is.
I have a lot of patience too from my students. People are like, oh man, I'm gonna make it up with me. But I love teaching. I mean, since I was young, and then I just love teaching, and I like to see them succeed in life and stuff. So I taught a lot of people, and then some make it and some don't. The ones that make it are dedicated and that are really trying hard. The other ones are just, you know, yeah, I know it. But then when they go, bam, what happened?
Yeah, it's boring teaching a slacker who don't want to learn.
Yeah.
You know, it really is. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So to hit on something you said, Alex, about confidence, how do you both teach to toe that line of going in confidently, but not being too cocky that you're just gonna get knocked out immediately?
Well, I just like say for example, like someone wants to fight me, and I just look at him like I can beat this guy. That's the kind of confidence you want to have to build up in me, because you don't want to show no fear to that person, or if you show any kind of fear, then you're gonna be weak, and you're gonna think about what is it gonna do to you. Just relax, go over there and do what you gotta do, and bam, bam, it just comes out naturally. It's all the muscle memory that you guys do when you train, because once you start doing kicking and punching, you do it all the time. Someone comes to you, just boom, you never know. It just happens to a reaction, a natural reaction. It's kind of like that. Boom, it's like, oh my god, I can't believe it. How'd you do that? I don't know. It just came out. Because you're practicing so much that you're doing it, it just comes out naturally sometimes. And you're not thinking about what you're gonna do to this guy if he throws a punch, because when you think too much, you're gonna get hit. Just let it come out. This and that. Just let it come out. The kick come up, boom, knock the guy out. How'd you do that? I don't know. It just happened. The guy, boom, I hit him in the eye. Boom, how'd that happen? I don't know. It just happened. Just correct. Have the confidence, relax. Don't get too worked up, shaked up. This and that. Just relax, breathe. Just look at him. Let him do all the talking. Easy to go down.
Some people got more natural ability than others, and the ones that don't, you just take your time. You groom them. You don't leave them out. Nobody ever gets left out. You know what I mean? It's just you as a teacher, no matter what you're training, martial art, iron palm, whatever, you got to make sure that you're giving the guy the right stuff, because their life could depend on what you're teaching. And if you don't teach them the proper way, you're just collecting $1, then it ain't fair to the guy. Your job is, he's coming to you for help, so you better make sure that you're doing your job, so he understands what it is that he needs to do to get home safely. That's the way we look at it now.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I'd like to hit on as well for Josh, because I found this so fascinating when we first talked, is how do you feel about the mindset of discipline as it relates to training, as it relates to how you ended up creating some of the best Dit Da Jow formulas in the world, and your approach to all of that?
It's interesting, because actually that's like a similar sort of question to the how do you persevere and not give up. And I mean, I think there's an element of enjoyment, but like the enjoyment can't be it, right? Because some days like you don't want to do it, and those are the days that like you have to do it. And I think that it's funny, we could probably have a whole blog talk about this, right? But like I think probably Alex and Felix can identify with this idea of kind of like obsession a little bit, where it's like you have to get it right, you have to do it, and then even then that it's not enough if you're not on the right path, right? Because like if you're obsessed, you work on it forever, you don't get better, and you say, well, this is ridiculous, I'm quitting, right? And so I think there's just this interesting mixture, this recipe of like I said, like doing it on the days when you like just feel like you don't want to do it, you don't want to get out of bed and work on it, and then like having a little bit, tossing in a little bit of obsession in there, and then like was said a minute ago, like there's something about relaxing and taking the time and not worrying so much about where it's at in the future, right? And just kind of working on what you're doing right now, and taking it in little enough pieces that it's not like daunting and overwhelming. And so I think that's kind of where I came from. You guys have heard, like, there were people that didn't want Plum Dragon to be open, and I was like, that's too bad, So, yeah. So it's just a mixture of so many of those things, and I think everybody's got it. I think it's just putting it all, getting all your ducks in a row, so to speak. So,
yeah, but too, Josh, problem with a lot of people nowadays, everybody wants it easy.
Yeah, they do. They want it real easy. They want to learn the whole curriculum overnight. A lot of JKD people, I ain't saying no names, but a lot of JKD people will have a seminar. We'll have a seminar, and they get a damn teaching certificate, right? And it's like, I was like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, this money marketing. Yeah.
I couldn't sleep.
That. Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So for sure, and it is, it's I mentioned on one of the previous podcasts we did, like there's this saying that I just love, and obviously it doesn't apply to everything, but it's like good men create, or strong men create good times create weak men create bad times, and bad times create strong men. And I think in a lot of ways, we're in a place right now where like times are so good that people are kind of, they are adapting downward towards it. So,
Yeah,
see what happens.
Could be true a little bit. And also a lot of spoiled kids, spoiled brats, a lot of opportunists. So, like back in the day when we used to spar and fight and everything, especially in the Kung Fu arts, we didn't bubble wrap like they do now. Everybody bubble wraps. They go home with a black eye, busted lip, and I look in the mirror and go, "Oh man, look at that! I was happy." I got something to show off to. But now everybody, man, they're bubble wrapped and they want to talk about philosophy over one punch for 45 minutes. And you pay for that? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that.
So with that mindset, when you have a student that is acting disinterested or really just doesn't want to take that extra step of commitment, what is your guys' teaching strategy to overcome that student's mindset?
Go home. Go home. You don't want to be here? Go find something you want to do, damn it. You know what I mean? Martial arts ain't for everybody.
Definitely.
Some people play golf, tennis, basketball, whatever. Everybody has their own different thing. But if I'm going to get a lackadaisical person just plain lazy, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to say, I'm sorry, man, go home. That's just the way it is, plain and simple.
I had a cousin. He's like gangster type, and he wanted me to show him some moves. So I showed him one move for like 15 minutes, but he was too strong. He was too strong. So I told him to relax, and he didn't want to relax. So I got him by the waist. So I showed him one move, and then so he thought he was a man. So I go, "Hey, it's your time to go buy beer." So good thing, and he went to go try that move out that I showed him. He came back with a fat lip and a black eye, and he goes, "Man, that shit don't work." I go, "It does, man. You just don't know how to do it."
One day, right?
Good thing you got the fight. We got the bear. So they took out bears, and I would have to go after those guys.
Yeah.
So he comes back, a big old fat lip and a black eye right there. And I was like, "Man."
Yeah.
He's like, "That shit don't work. Don't teach me that stuff no more." It's because you're not dedicated to it. You don't know. You think you don't know everything in 15 minutes, but you can't. It takes time. Yeah.
So Nick, what's your background in martial arts? Do you have any?
Actually, you guys are gonna hate me for this. No, I don't. Yeah, I'm actually, so I'm the sales and marketing angle of marketing. I grew up playing sports, and I destroyed my shoulder in high school. So I want to get into it now. So here's actually a great question. So somebody like myself who has had past shoulder issues but does want to get into martial arts, what discipline or style would you recommend? Or just
Finger jab to the eyes. Finger jab to the eye. Plain and simple. Especially for Janelle. She's a woman. She hit the eye jab, hit the throat, get out, go home, right? Yeah. So if you're limited on mobility, it's not that hard. A little bit maneuvering, more smooth, eyes, throat, tempo. And if you javelin into the iron palm, you penetrate the head easy. The heart, the whole thing. You hit those some good pressure points. And Josh knows what it is. So if you got the hang in this, and you're able to penetrate the person even more with less friction, so to speak, right? You don't got to wound up like an animal. You can be so subtle and boom, and the guy feels it inside. It's almost like a seismic reaction to an earthquake. Little spot, the body feels it, right? And that's from the iron palm. Vibrating palm, it's you, everything else. A whole lot there, Josh.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, well, it's I think about that, and I think, there are some arts out there, right, that like have you like the long fist arts where your hands are up above your head and all these other things. But as I'm listening, to that answer, I'm thinking in my head, all of the real effective arts that I've trained don't require all of these like crazy, far out movements. And even then, if you were at a school where you're being expected to do things that your shoulder can't put up with, I mean, that teacher is either out of touch or they don't care about the student or you know, those sorts of things. So I mean, you just
they don't have the answer.
Right? So
yeah, sometimes they don't have the answer, Josh. They just
right.
they use the same curriculum for everybody, and it doesn't work. You know, like Nick's got the bad shoulder, right, Nick?
Yes, sir.
And Jow, you got the long fingernail to use when you're out there, right?
I don't know about that.
Pink shoe.
So,
Yeah. Hey, I've got a question from Matt
I don't know
Goodwin.
if you can see what. I don't know if you can see what I'm going to be doing.
Sorry.
It's like a simple technique. You're here like this. Can you see what we're doing here? Like Josh, if your shoulder can't do much, and Janelle got the fingernail, right? It all depends how the movement goes. If he's approaching me, I hit the double eye jab, throat hit, boom. There's their iron palm to the jaw to the temple. Things like that. Super simple, Nick. And then, man, too bad you weren't in our neighborhood. It'd be kind of cool to have you guys come down and learn from us.
Well, I'd love
That
that.
would be so great.
You know anybody in Miami?
Huh?
Do you know anybody in Miami that trains? That's where I'm at.
I haven't met him personally, but there's a guy named Pedro Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
He does a lot of, I think he studied under Vunak, but he did a lot of jiu-jitsu and hapkido. You know,
He's on this Facebook Live. He said hi to us earlier.
He's a good guy. Yeah, he's a really good guy. You know,
Awesome.
you're in Florida, right?
Pardon?
You're in Florida?
Pardon, what was that?
You're
Florida,
in Florida?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm in Miami, yes.
Oh, how far from Boca Raton?
Boca, I'm probably about hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There was a guy there, a friend of mine named Todd Lauren. He used to work out with us. He moved to Florida about 15 years ago. Took over. He's got a nice little spot by the beach. He was a boxer, a good boxer back in the day. You know, and he worked out with us for many, many years. He's out in Boca Raton. He was always looking for somebody to train with or teach a little bit too. You know, so if you're ever in the neighborhood, want to hook up, let me know.
Definitely, I'd be happy to. So
And Janelle is a what kind of martial art do you do, Janelle?
I send my kids.
All right.
Before COVID broke out, my son was doing hapkido.
Oh, okay, cool. That's what Pedro does. He's a hapkido teacher. Billy Jack. That's
Okay.
Billy Jack. Yeah, he did a lot. So everybody's from a different region. Josh, where are you located?
Denver, Colorado. Yeah.
Where about? Denver.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just outside of Denver. So
I got a
I
buddy.
go around a lot. I was actually in Florida for a while in Huntsville, Alabama.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I got a buddy out there. I don't know how far from Denver he is, but he lives in a place called Castle Rock.
Oh yeah, that's about an hour south of here.
Okay, his name's Todd Gray. He was one of my students. He was a chiropractor, good chiropractor.
Okay.
But he ended up moving from California to Colorado. He loves it out there.
Does he have a
was a good
school
practitioner.
out here?
No, he just he's a chiropractor.
Okay.
You know, and he learned from me. Then he got into other things before he left. And he's out there living a good life now out in
Nice.
good old Castle Rock.
Yeah, it's a good area.
All right.
So here's a question from Arranged by Ashley on Instagram. She says, "What do you recommend to develop fast hands?"
Go faster. That's what Bruce used to say. Bruce and Jim, you want to get fast, go faster. You know, but the thing is, like Alex said, to relax. The more rigid, the more you're going to tighten up your muscle. If the hands are tight during the process, your oxygen, your blood gets stagnant. You don't have that flexibility. They used to say, you know, that if you want to get fast and smooth, steal from the women. You know, their martial arts, especially Tai Chi and Wing Chun, still their sensitivity, and you become way faster. And you'll have sensitivity, you know.
Cool.
It's just relaxation. That's all it is.
Here's an iron palm question. Matt Goodwin asks, some people claim they can't get beyond 4 pavers without a specific program. What are your thoughts on that, and what programs are out there to learn if that is the case?
It's kind of funny. I know Josh wants to answer that too. I can see
Yeah.
it's just more intense, more conditioning. I mean, you can't break the Brooklyn Bridge. It's just so many slabs you can break. It's just like if you want to break more, then you're going to have to get more intense, and find out. A lot of it comes to the breathing. The breath has a lot to do with it. A lot of the Qigong wakes everything up. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. People forget about that. The problem with a lot of the Gong Fus and everything, especially the JKDs, is that there's no internalness. The internalness is, I haven't seen it. I see a whole lot of other things, and that's all I see. And I see a goddamn picture of the lights on the wall. That's it. They ain't going to do that for you, You have to get away from that and go back to what they used to do. The hardcore internal training. You know what I mean? That's kind of almost the thing of the past now. Me and Rodney talked about that earlier today. By the way, he said to say hello to you.
Oh, excellent. Next time you talk to him, let him know I said hi back. I haven't talked to him in probably a year. So
okay, yeah, he's a good dude. We talked about the same thing. People, once you forget about the internalness and you want to just get there fast within the short amount of time, it ain't gonna happen. You have to put in, like Alex said, you got to put in the work. You have to go want to do this. Your expectation shouldn't be what everybody else is. You should go beyond what you can accomplish if you want to get there farther. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
All right, great.
So Josh,
go ahead.
No, you got Janelle.
Oh, another question. Jamari Mack said, how do Jow formulations differ between internal and external martial arts?
you guys want to start, or you want me to take that?
Go ahead, Mr. Josh. I take the last one. I'll let you do this.
All right. I've got this dog down here that looks like he's about to bark. So if he starts barking, so there's a few different things that are interesting about this. For some people, internal is like the Qigong as opposed to the hard kind of like sparring or something like that, right? And so but for other internal people, we're talking about like deeper in the body, and we're talking about like there's all these different ways of looking at it, right? But so one of the things that really kind of changes that is like how the type of herbs that you use. If you're working with like a bruised liniment, it's like really kind of it's like this outward, it's like this external thing, right? Like you get hit and it hurt. But the internal formulas tend to be more about move, like the Chinese talk about it like as moving qi, like qi regulators and invigorating that flow, and kind of the wind damp side. And then there's this olfactory piece of it. And so a lot of those things become more important than like the bruised liniments. And one way, that you can kind of gauge how that liniment works, like we were talking earlier about the Qigong, and you can make your hand hot. And when I was first doing iron palm, I used to do this exercise where I would try to like focus the heat in particular fingers. So if you've got
Qi-ball.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got this Qi-ball, so these guys know exactly what I'm talking about. And, you kind of are trying to feel this, you try to feel it come in, you feel your pulse and you feel the blood and you try to feel the heat. And like, at some point you try to like focus on your thumb and your each finger one at a time. And so if it's a really kind of like Jow that's focused on that type of thing, then it will be much easier to do that. And if it's not, then you just, you have to really be good at it. So
yeah, your external Jows are more along the lines of Bengay, Tiger Balm, for non-practitioners, just for bruising and everything. And I had a friend of mine who used to make it was an oil base. He used to make it for arthritis. That was pretty good. It was for non-practitioners. But the internal part, I guess, it can be deciphered like two ways. It can be through the Qigong itself to awaken the kidney, liver, heart, everything, your meridians, to awaken everything. As well as I've taken an internal Jow, like a little capful with a little bit of water sometimes, especially to heal the organs after you spar. The internal stuff. They kind of got these other things. I can't remember what they're called, but they're something like along the line of they call hit pills. After you spar, get bruised on the inside, your sides will hurt. You take them.
Yeah,
it will heal you fast on the inside. Yeah. There's a whole lot of things to look at. It just depends upon what you're after and what you need. Some people need they don't need a lot of things. Some people, like I said, skill level, will explain itself.
Hey, Josh, could you hit on the benefits of an alcohol-based jow?
Yeah, so there's some scientific literature about this out there, and really high concentrations of alcohol tend to increase the absorption on the skin, and that tends to be like above 90%, which is where that curve really starts taking off. You don't really want a jow with that much alcohol in it because it evaporates too fast. And actually, the water is really useful, right? It's the universal solvent. So the thing that you get by having a liniment that has a good percentage of water and alcohol in it is that it's actually breaking down different things, right? So like we're talking about like polar and non-polar molecules there, and alcohol and water are the same, but they're gonna pull different things out of the liniment, and so it's nice to have like a 50% mix kind of helps maximize that. And that's actually the benefit of like an oil or vinegar based jow, especially the oil, which we're talking about polar versus non-polar. Now the oil is going to kind of take out, reasonably different stuff. And so you end up with a different kind of jow. Oil jows are they're just kind of a pain in the ass though. So the alcohol ends up being the best medium for it.
Yeah, you're right about all that. It's, some people grind the herbs, some people put them in fully, some people, saute them a little bit. Some people do different things with the herb. I guess personal preference.
Yeah.
And each Kung Fu art that I've been through, that I know through friends and everybody else training different things, each Kung Fu art has their own jow recipe. The Wing Chun guys, the Kung Fu guys, the Tai Chi guys, they all got their different, Thai fighters, the karate guys, Japan, they all have their certain types of a jow that they use, the family jows. And some I know too, used to use rice wine, back in the day.
We used to make rice wine.
Yeah. Oh, you had a skill.
Yeah, from scratch.
Oh, wow.
It's
all right.
It's like not worth the trouble. Like there are other rum is much easier to make than rice wine.
Okay. So that's where I saw you on Discovery, huh? Making this guys that have skills. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, in the early days of Plum Dragon, I actually decided that the alcohol is actually the most expensive part of the whole process, right?
I use the cheap stuff.
Yeah, straight vodka.
Honest.
But I decided, look, I can make 6 gallons of rum for the same price of half a gallon of vodka, and so like actually I was making the alcohol like just because it just made everything so much easier to just make the alcohol myself. So and then
yeah.
Josh, could you clarify a little more about the absorption rate into the skin of oil versus alcohol?
Yeah, so you can actually go look up and like I said, like once you get above 90% alcohol concentration, your pores are able to accept the alcohol more easily. And like I said, like there's a lot of research about that. As far as the oil goes, actually you can also go all different oils have like all the carrier oils have like kind of different like levels of absorption. And so some oils penetrate very deeply, and some oils are very, like right on the dermal surface. They barely penetrate at all. So some of the more expensive oils do a good job of penetrating. They just, because of the nature of the oil and the way it you've got oil on your skin, and then that's oil. So like it kind of repels a little bit. But the idea there is that, you want if you're going to use oil, you want to find something that penetrates well and dries quickly. And then, to finish up, like, you hear a lot of people talking about using, like, I think DMSO is like a thing, right? And so here's the other danger, right? Like, it's like we're talking about not, using the right thing for the job. And it's not just about getting it to penetrate as deep into the skin as possible, because if you were to add something like DMSO to jow, you'd probably, that stuff would penetrate too deep. And, you know, if it had, you know, herbs like futsa or, you know, some of these other mildly toxic herbs, not that futsa is mildly toxic, but it is once it goes into the Jow, then, you know, you could end up poisoning yourself. So it's you know, it's about the staying in that.
Yeah. Hey, along the same lines. Oh, I was just going to say, can you clarify a little bit, Josh, how there's a difference between internally consumed Jows and externally consumed Jows?
Yeah. And they were
at Plum Dragon, we don't recommend that you take an external Jow internally, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with internal, external martial arts.
Right.
Okay.
So, like, here's the thing, and the disclaimer here is, don't swallow external liniments. But with that said, the internal liniments, like, there are some herbs that if you put in an external Jow, they just don't make any sense. And there are a lot of internal herbs that you can put in external Jow that do make sense. And so the whole point there is that if you take, you know, an external liniment, you don't know what it has in it that you might not want to take internally. Like, it might have a lot of futsa in it. It might have some of these other herbs that are, you know, either raw or cooked and have a higher level of toxicity. And so when we say external, we mean, well, it's designed to be used externally. That doesn't mean it wouldn't do anything internally. It just means that, like, we know that it's going to be external, so we're going to optimize for that purpose. And when it's internal, actually the internal formulas have a whole lot wider of range of functionality, because some of the, like I said, some of the herbs that get used could get used in external formulas, they're not going to do anything when you apply it to the skin. They work in a more internal nature in your body, like they were talking about earlier with the organ.
Yeah, well, like I said, don't swallow them. You don't want to get sick. You know, pretty much, right?
Right.
Yeah, pretty much, you know.
So here's a question for Alex and Felix. So this is from One Love Destinations on Instagram. So what are some ways to condition your mind to be ready for training in martial arts?
To train your mind and condition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, accept the fact that you're coming in as a new student. If you want to see this person, wherever you're going to be learning from. Bruce Lee always said it, empty your cup. You know, people will tell you many times, you come in as a beginner, even though you may have years and years of experience. Always come in humble as a beginner, accept the fact that you can learn something from everybody and anybody. But some guys are very limited, but they can teach you. Some guys can teach you forever. It just, the way to do it is just allow yourself to see what this person has to offer for you. And if you like it, then there's a chance to go farther. You know what I mean? Don't go in there thinking, you know, if you have an attitude, you might as well just go home. It ain't gonna help. Go in there, good attitude, open mind, and see what they have to offer. And if you like it, you stick around. If you don't, find something you like. That's all it is.
Okay. Hey, we've got some more historical trivia type questions. It was Bruce Lee's, the anniversary of his death this week, and I think people have Bruce Lee on their mind, and they don't know maybe as much as James Lee. But here's a question that I got. James Lee used Dit Da Jow, and later on Al Novak used the same liniment. Somebody's wanting, this Hank Jonkman is wondering, is it still in use today? According to Al, it was pretty strong.
Well, according to what they had, me and Rodney talked about this, and going through Jim Lee's lineage, which was under Ko Yu Chung. Naturally, the Jow would be through Ko Yu Chung, since that was Jim Lee's mentor, those people that he learned the iron palm with. That's the Jow that they used, so therefore that would have had to been the Jow. But back in the day, nobody knew what that was. You know, they didn't know what Jow was. And what's Jow? I thought it was pancake syrup. You know, back in the day, right? And just like when I was growing up, the arts that were famous were karate, jiu-jitsu, and boxing a little bit, right? Then Kung Fu started to come in, and people didn't know what Kung Fu was. You know, there's new words. They're like, oh my God, what's this? You know, and then it's just like anything else. You know, just you just gotta, you know, just learn it. You know, learn what you got there.
We'll put links to the Jow that we have. That's a Yu Chung formula on in the notes, and we'll air this also as a podcast and on YouTube. So our listeners and viewers can come to plumdragonherbs.com afterwards and see show notes and links to some of the things. And also we'll put, you know, we'll try to answer all the questions that didn't get answered on this show. I know we've been live for a little over an hour, so
Oh, wow.
I know we may just have
Time flies when
to.
you're having fun.
Were
Yeah,
there any
well,
other? Do you have any other trivia questions, Nick, about Bruce Lee on your end?
Well, so here's one. So, what was your favorite Bruce Lee story that's personal to you?
My personal story of Bruce Lee,
Your favorite one, yeah.
the first time I met him, I was probably about 8, 9 years old. And my father took us to go see Bruce Lee. We went to Jimmy Lee's with my dad. And back in the day, we didn't know who Bruce Lee was. We knew Kato from the Green Hornet.
Mm-hmm.
For us, oh, Kato's there. You know, we were all happy to go see Kato, me and my little brother. So my dad took us in there. Bruce Lee walked in, and he had walked in with about 4 or 5 of the Chinese dudes, all dressed nice dudes. They're like bodyguards, right? These guys were Kung Fu guys. They weren't the other guys. They weren't like Ellen Joe, George Lee, and those guys. They were mostly Jimmy Lee's buddies. They were weightlifters and stuff like that, but they weren't really martial artists. But these other guys were martial artists. So we got there. Bruce Lee sitting down, signing autographs. I walked over. He was dressed really nice. And he had a pointed suede boot. And I stepped right on his boot, and I left a tennis shoe mark. Right? And he looked at me, and I go, oh, damn it. You know? And he kind of laughed and brushed it off and gave me an autograph. You know, we took a picture and everything with Bruce Lee. And that was my first time I ever met him. That was probably my fondest memory. Like, I stepped on Bruce Lee's shoe, right? You know what I mean? And everything, you know. But we used to see him all the time. We'd see him all. It was not uncommon, you know, to go with my father on the weekend and sit there with, you know, and play around Jimmy Lee's garage while Jimmy and my dad and Bruce would be talking about things, you know. And Jimmy was the guy behind all the conditioning stuff. The forearm, the hand, the palm, the buckshot, the jowl, everything. Jimmy Lee was the man, right? How do you think Bruce Lee learned this? You know, he just didn't learn it overnight. His source was Jimmy Lee. He taught him a lot of things. And for us, it's kind of like disappointing how people don't relate to that part. Maybe they just don't get it, or they just don't want to hear about it, you know? But the internal stuff is what's missing in a lot of martial arts nowadays. And that's why I wanted to kind of talk about it through the JKD world. Alex knows, a lot of my other students know. I have a couple other instructors that I've made instructors to that are doing it. But to carry on the tradition of real Kung Fu, not theatrics, you know.
Right. Alex, how have the internal martial arts affected your martial arts career?
Oh, it made me a better person, changed my life around. If it wasn't for that, I'd probably be in prison or something, you know, jail. But just give me like a big wake up call. Like, hey, you know what you can do? You can hurt people, this and that. You know, I did it a couple of times, but still, I got away with it. But still, then as you get older, you start realizing, you know what you can do to people and how you can hurt people, and it's like, man, I don't want to do that. You know, because I always tell people there's 7 ways to fight. This is my way. This is my theory of telling people the 7 ways to fight. There's close up, there's distance, on the floor, weapons, pressure points, joint locks with control, talk you out of it, or run. Those are my ways. You want to fight me? Well, see you later. I'm not going to go to jail for you. Want to fight me? I will talk my way down. You know, or if you're in a tight space, you can do the Jeet Kune Do. If you're in an open space, you can do the Tae Kwon Do. If you're in a spot where you're on the floor, then that's when you learn how to fight on the floor. You can do judo or you can do jiu-jitsu. And if someone pulls a weapon out, you can learn how to fight weapons. If you have a couple of drunk friends, or if you're a bouncer or a security at a club or something, and you want to hurt this guy, control locks, joint pressure points. Hey, get out of here. You know, those are my 7 ways of fight.
Yeah, as a martial artist, as you get older and you learn, your knowledge grows immensely. You know, Josh, doing the iron palm and herbs. The old saying was, if you can hurt somebody, you can also help them and heal them.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. People don't think about that. You know, everybody right now is, you know, either a victim or trying to be a victim or an opportunist. You know, all this good stuff we got around here, people are not even tuning into it. You know, there's a whole lot of good things they can learn from all of us right here. You know, from the whole crew, but they don't give themselves a chance to do it. So you know, that's why sometimes history gets rubbed out the wrong way and people forget about it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like our job, especially Josh with the iron palm and everything, to revise it and remind people what is out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you know, we sure appreciate having you guys on the show. We got a comment whether or not there's going to be a sequel. So we'll have to discuss and look at our schedules and see if we have enough interest, whether we do another Facebook Live.
Well, the way I figure out there's five Rockies here. I'm just kidding, right? You know, you guys, but yeah, we'd be more than happy to, even if we don't do another show, just to stay in touch, you know, and say hello to each other, you know, and everything else. That means a great deal too. You know?
How do you like people to reach out to you?
What was that again, please?
How do you like people to reach out to you?
Facebook. We're under Original Oakland JKD under Facebook or Instagram.
Okay.
Or Alex's site, what's your site, Alex? The Facebook, what's your site?
Oh, it's Alexander LX Freestyle Witthar.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can get to Alex too, and you know, there's a whole lot of things there, you know.
Let me post our website, and then people can come to our blog, and they can get the show notes there as well, and links to all this.
Yeah. There's a guy before we leave. His name is Johnny Williams. We wrote an article together, me, him, and Todd from Colorado, and we're in the process of doing another one. And this one's going to be about internal JKD. You know, what's missing, the iron palm, the herb, and I'm going to be sure. You know, Johnny Williams. You know, I told him a bunch of guys. We're going to make sure that we mention you. Mr. Plum Dragon herbs.
Wow, well, thank you very much.
Yes.
As a source to, you know, come and see Josh and get some good stuff and show us how to make a still. Okay, Josh?
Yeah, you got it.
Sounds great. Well, thank you, everybody, for having us. We really appreciate this.
Yes, nice talking to you guys.
It's great.
All right, great. Well, let's stay in touch.
We will definitely. And let's
Absolutely.
definitely do this again sometime. Thank you guys.
All right, great.
Yes, and thanks to all of our viewers. We had a number of comments come in, and you know, I wish we could have answered all the questions. So we'll do our best and follow-ups. Thanks, you guys.
Okay. All right, sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Take care, you guys.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
If you liked what you heard today, be sure to visit us at plumdragonherbs.com. We will post show notes and ways to connect with our guests. You can also help us share the tools of the Staying in the Game podcast with those you care about by subscribing to our show and leaving us a comment wherever you like to listen. Until next time.